Hello guys.
We are live.
And we are live.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. It is midweek and we thought we'd check in.
Yeah.
We want to do these a little more often to stay connected.
Wednesday live stream. Hello guys.
Oh no, wait, I have to mute this. I have my laptop, Brian has his, so I can follow along with your conversations. So let's begin with this. We are going to focus on a particular topic today. Any super chats donated will go directly towards Antonio's medical care. Yes, hi Bubby, he's perched right here on the couch. It's the cutest thing. I wish you guys could see him. Oh,
hey,
he's just such a
carpet chicken.
Yeah, he like flattens out and he looks like this big carpet of feather. But so we thank you in advance. If you are able to or feel inspired to, if the content we put out there inspires you or benefits you in any way, please consider donating. And we also take donations via Venmo and at Those Annoying Vegans. And, oh yeah, Patreon, of course. We would like to thank all of our Patreon patrons for supporting us, especially, those of you who have been around since the beginning.
Yeah.
There have been, some of you have been here.
Some of them are multi-year patrons.
Yeah, since we started the channel. So we are so thankful to you.
Yes.
Every single dollar goes directly to our animal, we call it animal rescue fund. But now we're not rescuing any more animals at the moment because we have enough. We have enough.
What's that show? 8 is enough?
Yeah, and their medical bills have been pretty enough. So we are calling it our animal care fund at the moment.
For Antonio and Fireru. Antonio's recovering wonderfully from his surgery.
So well.
Well. It's like nothing happened. He's already trying to walk in our backyard on his gauze.
Had we known, I don't know. Maybe we should have. Well, no point in, because the whole thing is like we were like, should we do it soon? Should we have done it sooner or? Yeah.
Well, we wanted to give him as much time with his foot before, the tumor grew so large to where it was actually hurting him. But even with his new makeover, he still wants to walk around the backyard.
Yeah, and
he's
got great balance too on his one leg.
Yeah, he was already standing like a flamingo. Hey, Bubby, be careful.
If I jump off screen at any point during this live stream, it is because if he gets up and like moves in a drastic way, I need to make sure.
He's perched on the back of a sofa right now.
Yeah.
So if he falls forward, lots of cushioning.
I have like 6 pillows.
But if he falls backward, also lots of pillows, but just
precaution.
Just a precaution. Looks like Shoe Vegan is watching from Japan.
Wow. Hi Shoe Vegan. Well, I guess that's the sort of advantage of doing this at 6
at this hour.
At this hour. What time is it in Japan? It's like 10 to 12 hours ahead?
Japan would be either really, really far ahead or a little bit behind. I
think
can't remember. They're really far ahead then, right?
I think it's ahead.
It's like tomorrow in Japan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah.
Yeah,
you're right, Shoe Vegan. Birds don't show pain, just like cats. They're really good at hiding pain.
Yeah.
Because it's a protective mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
If they show any weakness, their flock can go at them. Not, because they're evil, but it's, birds in particular travel in groups. In nature, they hang out in groups. Well, even in not nature. But if they have a weakness in the group, then it means a weakness for the flock. Mm-hmm. At least in their world.
Samantha Zirat says, hello, my sweet mother got me the Peas on Earth pin.
Oh, yeah. Is it the one we sent today?
We just mailed one today, so that could be it.
Samantha, you are doing everything. Thank you. I mean, if there's something I wish people would realize when they, if they purchase one of our pins or stickers, or even if it's like one sticker on Etsy, there she is.
Hi,
I was like, where's Gracie? We're doing a live stream. She's always present for our
Hi, baby May.
But even everything adds up. Everything, every dollar, nothing is too little.
No.
And we have been building up, we keep track of all of their medical expenses. So every time we get like a purchase from Etsy, or like the month's Etsy earnings, or the month's Patreon earnings, or the month's YouTube earnings, we start minusing that, we start subtracting that from what we owe for their medical care. And it just keeps, it keeps going, and we'll get there. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
Thank you, Samantha. Shoe Vegan, 10:37 a.m. here, 10:37 a.m. tomorrow.
More than 12 hours.
So it's good to know that the future is in existence. I use...
Hudson.
Hudson.
Hudson Tarlow was our inspiration.
Yeah, buddy.
To respond to this this post that we were going to respond to.
Yeah, we saw Hudson's post and we were like, what's he responding to? And then we saw this post and we were like, oh,
nah.
That's a stream. That's a stream.
Yeah, so thank you, Hudson, for inserting some logic. Check out Hudson's response video on Instagram, and I think maybe we'll start. Oh, Johnny Contreras, thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat donation. Antonio, thanks you.
Yes, thank you so much, Johnny. Nathaniel says he loves our swag and he wants the telomere shirt. The telomere shirt can be yours. You simply ticky to the Etsy store.
Telomeres are so... If you don't know what telomeres are and why it's important that we are vegan in order to extend the lifespan of our telomeres, Google that.
Yep.
Okay.
So shall we begin?
Yes. All right, guys.
So, as we said, we saw a good friend of ours, Hudson, who's now he's now on the East Coast, but he used to be a West Coast boy. And we used to hang out here in LA, and he made a post recently responding to this Instagram page called Impact, which we had never heard of before or never checked anything out, but they made a very interesting post about veganism that we wanted to share with you guys. So we can bring that up here. So we'll minimize ourselves so you can see what's going on. So
it says you can't preach for animal rights while ignoring human rights. Okay.
Oops.
But move.
Bing.
Do you want to talk about that one first, or should we scroll?
I was gonna see if I can kind of.
What are you doing?
I was gonna try to make it bigger. Sorry.
Okay, that's good.
So, so this page called Impact, obviously you can see here, you can't preach for animal rights while ignoring human rights. I guess they're hinting at the intersectionality of this, right? There's a lot of people who think that if you stand up for animal rights, because the oppression of animals can intersect with the oppression of some non-human animals, I guess they're all related and you have to care about them all equally or something. But I never ever see that brought up with like other social justice causes.
Right.
It's never like you can't stand up for the rights of women without standing up for the rights of the LGBTQ community or something. Like I never hear that. I just always hear women's rights.
Yeah, or men.
Trans rights.
Like you can't stand up for the rights of women if you don't stand up for the rights of men.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, looking at this picture.
Yeah.
Just right off, what do you guys see?
Mm-hmm.
What are they? Because the statement itself, there's not much that's offensive. You know, I hate that word because everything's offensive, but there's not much controversy to that statement, because when we fight for the animals, we are, as a side effect, human lives are also affected.
Yeah.
But, you know, if we look at this picture, what does that show?
Mm-hmm.
So we have what look like people. I can only see one person's face,
Right.
and this is a pure assumption based on appearance and maybe statistics, but they look like they might be people of color, also based on what we now know Impact is trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And these are people who are farming what looks like lettuce
or
some vegetable.
cauliflower or something. Yeah.
Right. So
I think that the image is meant to inspire this idea that if you buy vegetables, that these, you know, poor, taken advantage of people of color are the ones going to be, like, you know, harvesting your vegetables or growing your vegetables, right? I think that's the image they're trying to put in your mind. But so what would be the contrary? The contrary to eating plants would be eating animals. And who does the killing and the processing and the slaughtering of animals?
Well, statistically speaking, and this is not only from conversations that we've had with slaughterhouse workers, but also what we've learned from foodispower.org, which is an incredible resource when it comes to the rights of slaughterhouse workers. Most slaughterhouse workers tend to be people of color.
Yep.
And undocumented immigrants, people, veterans,
ex-convicts,
people with disabilities sometimes, people who don't have an easy time finding work, but who at the same time are so easily taken advantage of by the industry that they are almost preyed upon by the industry. Every time we'd go to Farmer John, for example, they'd always have a banner. Oh yeah. Because there's over 100% turnover rate at slaughterhouses, and they'd always have a banner that communicated that they were ready to hire, and they'd always
now hiring,
now hiring, and very specific. They, I think I remember veterans being one of the banners, and so what we've learned. I mean, do you want to go into this the slaughterhouse? Or should we?
Well, we can look at the next. Whoops.
Ah, hello.
My mouse was in the wrong monitor. Yeah. Okay.
Let's put a pin on that and continue on, because
it's a multi-slide post that Impact.
Oh, never mind. I'm
That's
looking
a delay.
That's a delay. Okay.
What do we got here?
Okay, let me just check in with you guys, because it's important to us that we do. Prima, just briefly off topic, Prima DeMauro asks, how do you handle the poop situation in the house with the chickens?
Yeah.
Chicken diapers.
Chicken diapers. Amazon.
And
or we should put you in touch with Avian Fashions, actually. avianfashions.com. They make our favorite model of chicken diaper.
Yes. Let's see. Thank you, Nathaniel. Sarah Lott, thank you so much for becoming a Patreon. You're awesome, and every dollar helps. Every dollar helps right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Yeah, Zel Naga makes a good point there about the pain of X is independent of Y, and X. Wait. Pain of X is independent of if Y and X pain are related. X pain still exists despite Y being linked or not. Painful or not, yes. So I think she's saying the suffering of animals and humans, while they're related, they're linked, they're also still independent from one another. So there's human suffering and then there's non-human suffering. And Angry Vegan makes a great point there too.
No one ever says you can't stand up for the rights of humans unless you stand up for the rights of animals.
Right. If they are interchangeable.
Right. Actually, Cesar Chavez said that. Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, thanks guys for joining us. We can continue on with the slide.
Yeah,
here.
so their next post here says prioritizing the rights and well-being of animals while ignoring human rights, especially agricultural workers, is a symptom of white veganism.
They might as well have made this the first the first. I don't know why they didn't, because it seems like that is what they were getting at. White veganism, guys. This has been a thing that has been creeping into the vegan space.
I've never heard of that until 2021. I don't know what. It's weird. Like, you know, David Ram said this in his. He made a live stream. Well, he did like a 24-hour debate marathon, and I think he posted one of the debates from there where, you know, he was debating someone and he made the point of saying, like, white has become this new word that you just attach to other words to make it sound bad. So people want to dislike veganism, so they'll just put the word white in front of it and go, oh, it's white veganism, that's bad. So I don't have to do it anymore because it's white veganism. There's no such thing as white veganism. I don't know what white veganism means. Just insert any other skin tone.
Yeah.
And just say, oh, that's a symptom of black veganism, Asian veganism, Latino veganism, like Indian veganism. Like, would you ever say that that's a symptom of Indian veganism or something? Like, that would be bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing, guys. Statistically speaking, there's so much I want to say statistically speaking, but statistically speaking, let me just focus, because my thoughts are like going everywhere. But there are so many people in the world, right? So you have all these people in the world. Vegans maybe form, I don't know what the count would be at this point, like 5%,
3 to 5% globally
of consumers. So this is assuming that only vegans consume produce. Right? Which doesn't make
any sense at all. It's kind of like avocados, though, right? Or asparagus, though, or
yes. Oh, Gracie's playing with
Gracie found a twisty tie. Vegans are not the only ones who consume farmed vegetables.
Yes.
In fact, we're very few people that consume farmed vegetables. And I'd just like to say here, the way they phrase this, prioritizing the rights and well-being of animals while ignoring human rights.
Yeah.
I don't know any vegan that ignores human rights.
No.
Vegans, in general, vegans are very liberal, very concerned with equality.
Very empathetic.
Very loving and caring and compassion. Like, the entire vegan message is, hey, you know how we've made all these advancements in the way that we treat each other, and you know how we treat cats and dogs and dolphins and like sea turtles and bald eagles and these select species. Maybe we should just treat everyone, like every living sentient being, with kindness. Maybe that could be a thing. That is veganism. Veganism doesn't align with a race or a culture. You can simply just be vegan and be any other category of human.
Yeah. Zel Naga, I do believe, being a Latino myself, the way I see this does look like racism to me. It seems to be just this like general taboo now around people with light skin tones speaking up about certain issues. And No Peace says maybe you should Google what white veganism is. No Peace, we're going with Impact's definition of white veganism for the purposes of this video, because Google has a lot of definitions, and everyone's sort of interpretation of it is different. So for the purposes of this video, we're gonna go with impacts definition.
I mean, you are putting white in the phrase, so by definition it is racial. Like, it is racially charged.
Yeah. Okay. You know,
V. Lambs, is this an attempt to excuse non-vegans who speak up for human rights not to be vegan? That's what it feels like.
yeah.
It feels like if you speak up enough for human rights, then you get a pass on animal rights, I guess. Because people like the taste of meat, dairy, and eggs, and they don't want to stop eating them. Because people are kind of like toddlers through their whole lives. Like
A little bit.
Like I like it. I like the way it tastes, and I just like it. So the next slide gives the definition of white veganism for whoever, I can't remember the name, whoever left that comment. No Peace.
No Peace.
So No Peace, according to Impact, they're saying
White veganism preaches a lifestyle centered around liberating animals, but ignores issues like, and just there.
Veganism doesn't ignore.
So does that mean people of color, BIPOC, are restricted in preaching a lifestyle centered around liberating animals? Like, people of color are also vegan.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
but ignores issues like the exploitation of indigenous farmers for popular vegan foods like avocados.
Hey, I called it. Didn't I say avocados though?
Yeah.
Go back in the stream.
Because vegans are the only people who eat avocados,
The only
right?
ones.
Right?
We're the only ones. No meat eater puts avocado on their burger.
Popular vegan foods. Vegan food, let me rephrase, plant-based foods. Veganism is a lifestyle that seeks to exclude the exploitation of animals as far as possible and practicable.
No.
Plant-based foods, which, just a thought, I think just everyone on this planet eats at some point in their lives.
Yeah. I mean, human beings aren't carnivores, so we must eat plants. So everyone who eats meat also eats plants. There are certain vitamins that you can only get from plants.
Except for the new trend. Except the exception.
Yeah, but that's Sean Baker literally giving himself type 2 diabetes in a year. Possibly contracting scurvy from lack of vitamin C. But virtually every human being on planet Earth, for one reason or another, eats plants.
Yeah.
Their second point is that white veganism ignores local farmers being unable to compete with lower prices of high demand foods set by large agricultural corporations, example chickpeas. Again, vegans are the only ones eating falafel and hummus apparently. So vegans are the only ones eating chickpeas. Vegans are the only one buying from large agricultural corporations. Vegans are the only ones that go to grocery stores to buy their food. Did you know that? Meat eaters buy all of their vegetables and produce from a local farmer. Yeah. I had no idea.
So you see, this is starting to sound a little uneducated. For a social media account with over 1.7 million followers? Was it 1.7? Yeah, 1.7 million followers, and this is the message that they are responsible. They are responsible for inspiring so many impressionable people here. Luckily, in the comments, if you look at the comments, we have some lot of good, logical. We'll read some of those later. The other thing that vegans ignore, apparently, white vegans specifically, is the degradation of land and resources. For example, water used to supply popularized vegan foods like almond milk and soy products. So,
all those almond lattes at Starbucks.
Let's make one thing clear.
Only for vegans.
Corporations do not put out a product like almond milk and soy milk if only 3% of the population is going to purchase it.
Yeah.
It's not just vegans buying almond milk and soy milk. And by the way, speaking of water resources, come on.
Need we compare dairy to plant-based milk?
Okay,
Is it 1,500 gallons for a pound of cheese?
Yeah, didn't I post this recently? Where did I post this? On our Instagram, right? Hold on one second. You can continue to speak while I.
Well, I just think it's strange that they say white veganism preaches a lifestyle centered around liberating animals but ignoring the following 3 issues, right? So that's their definition of white veganism. So by their definition, if you, Ana, someone born in Latin America, someone who identifies as Latina, you're literally Costa Rican.
100%.
If you were the type of person that preached a lifestyle of liberating animals, but you ignored these 3 issues, you would then be guilty of white veganism, even though you're not white. Which begs the question, why put the word white in the title of it? In that same David Rams debate, this young woman who he was discussing this with, she said, well, it's basically Western veganism because this is how vegans in Western countries behave. And he was saying, like, well, why don't you call it Western veganism then it's a little more accurate and a little more inclusive and descriptive of what you're actually talking about. Because not everyone in Western countries is white, and not everyone who ignores these 3 issues is white, and yet you're labeling this specific mindset, which isn't even veganism, but you've created a mindset and then you've labeled it as white and then labeled that as bad.
So, just to hit on the water consumption, growing feed crops for livestock consumes 56% of water in the U.S.
Yeah.
That is according to the Center for Science in the Public Interest. Californians use, just California, this is us, except the people who consume meat and dairy, use 1,500 gallons of water per person per day. Close to half is associated with meat and dairy.
Yes, they're including your meat and dairy purchases in your water use.
That is according to the Pacific Institute. 2,500 gallons of water are needed to produce 1 pound of beef. That is according to several sources. I can go ahead and list them, but
Earth Save, Bioscience,
water resources, agricultural and environmental issues.
The Environmental Working Group.
Estimation of the Journal of Animal Science. So, water.
Oh, that was it. 1,000 gallons of water for 1 gallon of milk.
Yeah.
So let's complain about how much water almonds need. And by the way, you can be vegan, and if you don't like how much water it takes to make almond milk, you can buy oat milk or soy milk,
don't drink almond milk.
Or don't buy non-dairy milk at all. You have that option.
Let's see what you guys have been saying. Ooh, a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. Okay.
I think we've already been.
Oh, we've been through here. Doo-doo-doo. Sergio says, I think they're trying to say, quote, privileged veganism,
Exactly.
which itself isn't accurate, IMO, because to me it seems like anthropocentrism in reverse, which isn't nearly as toxic as anthropocentrism.
Well, it's like what we were saying, like Western veganism, because Westerners are seen as privileged, so it makes sense.
Yeah, Sergio is right. Like, there's this kind of idea out there that vegans are misanthropes. So we hate humans for the pain they cause animals. We don't hate humans. For one, I get disappointed. I get sad. I get angry. And those are normal emotions. But I don't know that hate is the right word, because I know there is so much ignorance out there. And there are humans out there who are compassionate, who are empathetic. Not forgetting, too, that we used to buy into the industry ourselves.
Yep. Well, let's not forget, look at the way that people in the West react to the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, right? So people lose their minds when they see dogs being abused and killed and eaten, right? So all vegans are just looking at every animal the way that most Americans look at dogs and cats. So just imagine, like, every strip of bacon, every burger that someone was eating, every, meat-based sandwich or burrito or whatever, just imagine it was stuffed with dog meat. And would that bother you? And if that would bother you, congratulations, you understand veganism. That is why vegans do get annoyed, they get upset, they get frustrated, they get angry, because it would be like if you just woke up tomorrow and everyone in your family, every one of your friends, everyone that you know, all of your coworkers, were all just eating cats and dogs. And you saw it as a huge deal. And no one else did, really. And it was totally normal. And maybe that would bother you.
Yeah. Louis agrees the definition of white veganism is irrational.
Yeah.
You guys have some good stuff to say.
Yeah.
White speciesism. Really, because humans are animals in a way.
It's true.
Nathaniel Siley,
Uh-huh.
thank you so much for your donation. He says, you guys help me be a better vegan, sending some love and support. Keep up the fight. Thank you so much. As you all know, as you all know, all donations today go directly to Antonio's to cover Antonio's medical bill for his amputation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
I don't know if we'll be able to get to all these.
I know. We read all of them. I'm just like looking for because you guys are talking between each other, so that's good.
Yeah.
French veganism. Yeah, almond milk is we're not denying that. Almond milk is water intensive.
Yeah. Especially in California, where we have a drought, and this is where most of the country's almonds are grown.
But dairy farming, too, like almond and dairy.
But dairy farming is more water intensive, and more people eat dairy products than eat almond products.
Yeah,
so
that's true. But yeah, Catherine Green says the same thing. Still doesn't hold a finger to dairy as far as water.
Right. So you can be vegan and not drink almond milk.
And water for plant crops. Yeah. Over 56% of water is used for feed crops.
Feed crops to feed the animals that then people will kill and eat.
Yeah.
So that's over half of the agricultural water usage goes.
I want to touch on Zelnaga's privilege is great wording, which isn't related to judging on location, age, skin color, language, etc. It's just privileged, even for wealth of elitism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but
you're saying like
privilege.
Don't call it white privilege, just call it privilege, because there are people who aren't white who are more privileged than some white people.
Yeah, and that's also, so if we were to call it privilege,
mm-hmm.
we can still argue that it is
privileged veganism.
We are aware that food scarcity is a problem in many areas of the world. We are aware of that. Like when we talk about veganism, we are not I don't think we're talking to the people who can't go vegan. Like if they don't have access to healthy foods, that is a problem that is beyond their control. And so yes, and there are thankfully organizations out there who specifically fight to make food more accessible to those people. When we personally speak up for animal rights, and when we try to tell you guys like go vegan, we would hope that these are the people we're talking to are the people who have the option, who go to the grocery store and are presented with a variety hundreds of options,
mostly plant-based foods, by the way, in the grocery store,
but still choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people we're specifically talking to. If we're talking, but even those people, even people who have the choice, the option, who have access to many, many plant-based foods, we find still say that veganism is a privileged movement. And we know they're not talking about themselves, they're talking about other people, because they themselves have the option. So, always before speaking for someone else, make sure you look in the mirror first and ask yourself, why am I not going vegan? Am I not able to afford these foods? Because plant-based foods are by far some of the most affordable out there.
Super cheap.
I mean,
if you can go to a grocery store,
need we name examples?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you can go to a store and buy meat or dairy or eggs, surely you can buy dried rice and dried beans and potatoes and lentils, dried oats. All of these like staple foods that a huge percentage of the world's poorest people rely on. Like legumes and starches and rice and beans. Like
animal flesh is considered a luxury.
It's so expensive.
I don't know why people say
to farm animals. It's so expensive.
It's really expensive. And so, you know, some people call it elitist. I actually found a short quote I wanted to share with you by Gary Smith. Being vegan is not elitist. Believing one has the right to take the life of another for pleasure and tradition is elitist. So think about it from that perspective too. Oh, there she goes.
Okay.
So
you want to go over to the next one?
And there are, by the way, people, there's someone we follow on Instagram. I forget her name. Oh my gosh. But, you know, there are a lot of accounts that focus specifically on how to be vegan on a budget. And here's our tip. If you want to be, if you are vegan, veganism comes from the heart. Veganism is not something like, you know, you purchase plant-based foods as part of your vegan lifestyle, but food is not the only aspect of veganism. But when it comes, food is probably next to personal care products and household products is probably the number one way that people contribute to animal cruelty on a daily basis, multiple times a day. If you're just starting out, we know that it's very easy to fall into that, oh, what can I purchase to replace the foods that I used to eat? You know, so you're looking for your replacements, like, you know, instead of chicken nuggets, you buy chicken with an apostrophe nuggets. Instead of fish sticks, you buy the fishless sticks. But processed foods, vegan or plant-based or non-plant-based, are always going to be more expensive than whole food plant-based. So when you're starting out, you might have the perception that it is more expensive to be plant-based, not to be vegan, because being vegan is free. It's in your heart. But being plant-based might appear more expensive because, you know, you tend to go for those processed foods right away. But we would suggest maybe just treating yourself to those processed foods, which aren't really good for you either way. You know, vegan or plant-based or not, I'm still trying to get out of the habit of saying vegan food, because there is no such thing as vegan food. All right.
Well, what I was going to talk about on that, just to touch on that, is that people look for those replacement foods, like, oh, I usually eat a burger, so I'll get a vegan burger, or a plant-based burger, or I usually eat, you know, the fish sticks, but I'll get the fishless sticks. But no one ever stops at questions and goes, wait a minute, is eating a burger or eating fish sticks, was that a good idea in the first place? Or would like a nice like lentil soup made from whole plant foods actually be healthier than that? Would oatmeal in the morning instead of bacon and eggs actually be healthier?
Sorry.
Gracita.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to show everybody what was going.
So their next slide here, more definitions of white veganism. White veganism also excludes Black and Indigenous people of color. It paints an image that promotes whiteness around veganism.
And I think what they went off, what they based that statement on was, I guess, a Pinterest search?
Shutterstock.
Oh, Shutterstock.
They searched on Shutterstock, quote, vegan person, and I guess the first 9 images feature, I mean, this guy in the, look at this guy right here.
First of all, none of these images communicate veganism.
No.
Because every one of these images is people eating food. This one is just a woman's legs with a grocery bag.
There's a woman's legs here.
But the animals are, of course, nowhere to be mentioned. I don't know how you would communicate that. But
this one is a person's arms. They could easily be your arms and your Latina. And then in the very first image in the top left, this dude right here appears.
He appears
to have a little color in his skin. I don't know.
They have a top-down shot.
No faces, no color. Like
you don't know.
So they did a search on Shutterstock and said, "Oh, veganism excludes people of color."
This is what I can't stand. I've been told, "No, you are white." I've been told that I am white because I guess there's a new term that has arisen in the 2020, 2021.
Because I think you look white.
Yeah. No, because Or it's called white passing because I pass as white.
Yeah.
People don't even realize that when I go to Costa Rica, I tan and I get a little bit darker and then I look a little bit more Latina. It's all really in your melanin.
Yeah. Just imagine going up to someone who's biracial and being like, "You're black." And they're like, "No, actually I'm biracial." And you go, "You're black."
Yeah.
Because I think you're black. So you're black then.
Because you look.
You look black to me.
Yeah.
Thus, I have decided as the arbiter of your identity.
I had to actually, so I do voiceover. That's where my career track is. And I had to, my agents started sending me roles that were specifically for BIPOC. Mm-hmm. And because of all this inundation of like, no, you're not BIPOC, you're not BIPOC, I was starting to like doubt myself. I don't know why, because I'm Latina. Hablo español, nací en Costa Rica, like you name it. But I asked my agent, like, I was like, are you sure that I can do this one? And they were like, you're and they sent me the definition of BIPOC, and I'm BIPOC.
Because people from Latin America are people of color. You were born where?
Costa Rica.
Okay, so that checks out. Latin America.
Sí.
Literally in Latin America.
Uh-huh.
Literally Latina.
Donde el veganismo está creciendo todos los días. It's like Costa Rica's vegan community is growing, and they have a Save Movement chapter. There's a Facebook for vegans and vegetarians of Costa Rica. When we went to Costa Rica, there's like, little restaurants and.
Hi.
There's
what are you doing?
And there was graffiti on like the sidewalks, like not your mom, not your milk. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, whoa.
Well, they said there was a carne es, like meat is.
Carne es. Yeah.
On the sidewalk.
There was an animal
like
liberation.
Meat is murder, roughly translated.
Remember the giant one we came across in Arenal?
A giant brick wall.
That said
go vegan, like really, really big.
Yeah, so, so I feel that just because I'm BIPOC doesn't mean I'm not excluded from. Why should I be excluded from being vegan and from speaking up for the animals? Like, people, veganism, everybody has a heart, right? Of all ethnicities, all races, all backgrounds, all socioeconomic backgrounds. Mm. Everyone has a heart. Well, it is not limited to...
right here I want to ask, like Cindy Ramirez in the chat says, Latino is not a race, so you can and are still white and Latino. I guess my question would be, what is your definition of a race? Because it's not a very scientific word. That's why, I avoid using it because my opinion is that it's not a particularly well-defined word and it's not a particularly useful word. So like, what would you call, how do you differentiate race? So is it just shade of skin? Like if your skin tone gets darker than like tatami tan on the Sherwin-Williams color grade, like do you then become a different race? Or what if your mom is black and your dad is white, what are you?
Yeah.
People always say that Barack Obama was the first black president, even though he has a a white parent and a black parent, he's equally as white as he is black.
Or
Yet
however
we call
he,
him the black.
or however
the
he
black
identifies,
president.
I suppose. You know.
I mean, race it's not a scientific word. It's not a useful word. It doesn't really mean anything if all you're talking about is the level of melanin in a person's skin or how curly someone's hair is. Like, it's completely irrelevant and unuseful. Like, I would say that being, if people...
He's okay.
Okay. I would say that people probably more strongly identify with their culture, like where they're born, the people that they grew up around, or the country that they were born in, and that's fine. That's how people identify. But I think it's weird that you can tell someone what race they are or aren't.
Yeah.
when they identify as race, when it's simply just like a man-made concept, really.
Who you are, Sel Naga says, who you are is independent of wording. Who you are who you are despite any word invented or word that is technically precisely correct. You are still the same despite wordings. VLAM says some people even exclude Asians from BIPOC. Really? The term is rather problematic, IMO. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's black, indigenous, and people of color,
which apparently has a spectrum of misinterpretation.
Which is interesting because, like, I understand the wording and I know what they're trying to say. But if you just look at the words and you say that if you're either black or indigenous or a person of color, last time I checked, my skin has color. It is a color.
Yeah.
Like, my skin is a color, but I guess I'm a person without color. Because I'm not a person of color.
Yeah.
So I'm a person of not color. I don't. It's like they said. It's a very problematic term because then they say, well, if you're not a person of color because you're darker than me, but you're not dark enough to be a person of color. So how dark do you where on the Dunn Edwards paint sample do you have to be to all of a sudden have color?
Yeah.
Or be of color. It's
let's see. Oh, sorry, I have to scroll back a little bit. E Fortuny Witten just got here. What the heck is BIPOC? BIPOC stands for Black Indigenous Person of Color. Yeah. It's the Gen Z invention. I don't know.
I think it's similar to LGBTQ, meaning you can be either black or indigenous or a person of color and all qualify. Because you can't really be black and indigenous from the United States.
I remember that is why I completely forgot this aspect, but I had when I emailed my agency, I did not know that, and I thought that I had to be all of those, or that it was somehow all of the, that it was all combined. But it is a separate
It's like LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer. You can't be all 5 of those at the same time, but if you're any of those.
Although queer, you can be queer.
You can be queer and gay, but you can't be gay and lesbian.
No.
But you could be gay, queer, and trans, I suppose. You could be like 3 out of 5.
I guess, yeah. Anyways, we have we have
a lot more slides.
Yeah. So we didn't even read the bottom part of this slide, which
it says in 2018. In 2018, 8% of black people identified as vegan, whereas only 3% of white people identified as vegan. BIPOC have existed in these spaces as the majority, but are being pushed out because they don't, quote, fit the image. I would like to know more about this statistic because they're saying 8% of black people versus 3% of white people. I'm going to assume they mean the United States, but I don't know. Do they mean global or do they mean the United States?
Yeah, it's very vague. It's vague.
Because 8% of black people, if black people make up about 13 or 14% of the population, whereas white people make up about 70% of the population.
Should we pull out the calculator here?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, you can look up the stats. I think white people in the U.S. is about 70%, and I think black people in the U.S. is about 13 or 14%.
Like how many?
Like the demographics of the United States.
Okay, hold on. So the census.gov. Oh, but this isn't. This is a percentage per state, population by race.
You can just do like percentage of U.S. population or something. Yeah. Like I want to say, I mean.
So Pew Research says in 2019, 46.8 million people self-identified as black, making up roughly 14% of the country's population.
And I think we're about 350 million. So if you go...
How many people are in the United States? Oh,
I think
population.
I think we're 330 million, 340 million, something along those lines.
We are
Right
332 million.
Yeah.
So let's round
Call
it.
it 330.
Yeah, 330 or 333 because it's almost at 333.
So if you go to the calculator, so we're looking at 330 million times 0.14, which would be 14%, meaning there's about
460. Nope. Hold on.
46
million
people that identify as black, and then you times that by 0.08, which gets about 3 million. 3.7 million people identify as vegan who are black. Now, if you take
the same number,
333 million times I think it's 70% is white, right?
So let me see. Let's see.
I want to say it's
76.5.
76, call it 76%. So
this is total?
A lot of white people in Maine, apparently.
Wait, can we have an average? Oh, 76.5. Okay. So according to Index Mundi.
Yeah. So you do 333 million times 0.765, which means 254 million white people times 0.03, 7.6 million. So there's 3.7 million vegans who identify as black in the U.S. There's 7.6 million vegans who identify as white in the U.S. It's literally double. But they're saying that the black, indigenous people of color have existed in these spaces as the majority, when in the United States there's literally twice as many white vegans as there are black vegans.
Yeah, so the statistic is a little misleading.
And even if there were more people of color who were vegan than white people, I'd be fine with that. I don't care, but it's weird that they're using these numbers and then saying that people of color are actually being pushed out of the vegan spaces because they don't fit the image. The image of a vegan is a person who believes that animal exploitation and suffering is wrong, and they seek to avoid it as far as what's possible and practicable. That's the image of a vegan.
What color, what background, what anything you are. I don't care as long as you are kind to the animals. Like, why is that limited? I have never seen what they're saying is happening. I have not seen that.
I have not seen people of color be pushed out of. We know many vegans who are people of color, like popular vegans, vegan activists, people on social media who identify as vegans.
So damaging to make
loud voices in the vegan community.
It's so damaging to make statements like that and not have anything to back it, because the people who are reading this and liking this post are people who are not vegan, who are looking for excuses. That's what it comes down to.
They would just prefer to keep eating bacon and eggs, and they don't want to actually take responsibility for their actions. Well, the next slide here.
To promote the animal rights narrative, certain examples of activism directly compare animal agriculture to racism and genocide. Racism.
They're showing a post from Veganoso. An Instagram post.
So we've seen this a lot lately with, you know, what's been happening with using certain terms like the animal holocaust. And
we're calling it an animal genocide.
Yeah. Which we like to stick to definitions. And as long as the definition is accurate, it can be applied to the animals. And let's be reminded that racism, we have to look for why are these comparisons being made? Because at the root of all of these world issues is discrimination. Humans discriminate based on the color of a person's skin. They discriminate based on a culture, tradition, the way a person dresses. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, humans are, I feel like we used to work more in communities. We used to like survive as communities, and as we've evolved, we get more and more divisive, and I don't know why. But I don't think there is anything wrong with drawing parallels and seeing like, okay, we're seeing that we're discriminating in this area and we're discriminating in this area, and it's just drawing those parallels they exist. The parallels exist, they are factual. The comparisons are real. So,
and you don't necessarily have to value, like, they're showing a post from Veganoso who's comparing racism to speciesism, right? Well, racism by definition is discrimination based on race. Speciesism is discrimination based on species. So
and from the eyes of the oppressor, these images might make sense because
the oppressed.
The oppressed.
Yeah.
Sorry, the oppressed. Because back in the day, like now with confirmation bias, and because I would hope most of the world is against racism. We know there are still people out there who are not. But I would hope that we can look at both images and say how horrendous, just period, how horrendous. This is a human being. But in the eyes of the oppressor, and I say oppressor now purposefully, this human being back in 1815 was not worthy of equal rights, was not just the same way some people think that animals are not worthy of equal. You could go back and try to convince that person
in 1815.
In 1815 that this human being is just like all of us, is just like them, deserving of equal rights, is sentient, is emotional,
they feel love and joy and pain.
And wants a family and wants to live a life free of suffering. They
don't want their children stolen from them and sold to someone else. Like, you could make all the same.
Yeah. And what would that person have said? Oh, Gracie.
Oh, Gracie May.
Gracie. Well, I mean, this is also.
This is the next slide here.
Slide.
Gracie.
Gracie's on Brian's mouse.
Gracie.
Hold on.
I'm going to do the trackpad.
Tick, tick, tick.
Maybe.
I know.
So yeah, their next slide just shows an image of the World War II Holocaust versus the current animal Holocaust with crates of chickens versus, these people that were suffering in the World War II Holocaust. And it's saying
Jewish people, probably. I mean,
most likely
Jewish people, people with disabilities. They went for.
So this is a concentration camp versus a factory farm, and they're saying this is extremely inappropriate and insensitive to these groups, even though you're not comparing the two victims, you're comparing the discrimination and the oppression.
Yeah.
The victims, you don't have to care about both victims equally.
No.
You don't have to care about, you don't have to be a dog lover to not just go willy-nilly kicking dogs and killing dogs and eating dogs, right? You don't have to love and obsess and really, be taken with dogs and love puppies and go on Google and look for puppy pictures and follow puppy pages on Instagram. You don't have to have any of that in order to simply respect another living sentient being as worthy of basic decency.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how it's inappropriate or insensitive. You're saying here's a form of oppression that, 60, 70, 80 years later, we're looking back and saying, well, that was clearly wrong, compared with something today that a percentage of the population is saying, well, then this is clearly wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're both forms of oppression. They're both part of a similar industry, a similar way that they're being oppressed. We're comparing the oppression of a sentient being, not the actual victims.
I'm gonna hit up or look at some of these comments. Not sure if I've understood any of this correctly, but I've never seen a vegan racist. Period. Says E4G Witten. Neither have we.
I'm
maybe.
sure they exist.
I'm sure. I mean, because everything, like we say in Spanish, de todo hay en la viña del Señor, which means in God's grape garden there exists everything. It's just such a funny. Zelnaga says my skin color is number 245653 color chart number joke.
Oh. Give me the Pantone exact color, please.
Anna Maxa says they probably just mean white people who shop at Whole Foods.
Even white people who shop at Whole Foods aren't racist by definition, or aren't excluding people of color from veganism.
Yeah.
Or ignoring people of color while being vegan. It's just such a weird.
Zelnaga says animals do get burned. It is a Holocaust. You can respect the World War II victims of the Holocaust and also respect the animal victims of the animal Holocaust happening right now, everywhere, all over the world.
Oh, I think
perpetually.
You can't help but the point, actually Vegan Foot Soldier put out a video recently where he said, people often use the word Holocaust and then they will say, well, technically, according to the definition, it is a Holocaust and that's why I'm using the word. And he was saying it's actually stronger for you to say, no, I am making a comparison to the World War II Holocaust because I'm trying to elicit an emotional response by showing you something that we all agree to be immoral and then showing you something very, 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 very similar, yet the victim is different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get you to see the parallels, see the samesies, not the differences, but the sameness between these two forms of oppression.
VLAM, you're absolutely right. Scarcity mindset. Caring about the plight of animals takes nothing away from other oppressed humans. Can't we work together to lift up everybody, humans and animals? Of course.
Of course.
I mean, and we didn't even touch on the slaughterhouse workers, who are also oppressed, very oppressed, and given the nature of their work, suffer from PTSD and depression, anxiety, higher suicide rates, higher crime rates in the communities they live in that where the slaughterhouses are.
Higher rates of domestic violence.
Higher rates of, yep.
Because your job is to be violent all day long for 12 hours. Whoa, Aria Rose. Aria.
Yeah, and they suffer from injuries. They don't often receive the appropriate medical care. These factory farms, they have a certain speed, by the way, that they operate at, and it is not often possible for the workers to ask permission to, say, use the toilet. So many of them wear diapers. Come on.
Yet people are up in arms about Amazon factory workers, right?
Yeah.
But not slaughterhouse factory workers, because I like bacon.
I mean, beyond that, it's, most slaughterhouses have a over 100% turnover rate. The one slaughterhouse worker we spoke to who used to work at Farmer John, and he no longer did, of course, when we spoke to him. He told us that most people can't stand more than 3 months on the kill floor. He was one of those people, and he has to get.
He said there was 12-hour shifts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They average salary for a meat processing, a slaughterhouse worker, meat processing, is $26K a year. That's average. So.
But white veganism is bad.
Yeah.
Because.
By default, as we shift to a more plant-based vegan world. There will be rifts and ebbs and flows and changes that our society will need to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And as we make these adjustments, we'll start to hopefully notice these issues and there are organizations that are specifically cater to human rights, like finding ex-slaughterhouse workers work in a different industry, for example, or improving food availability, healthy food availability for people who don't have access. It's okay that not every vegan does not focus or specialize in those areas. We each have our specialties,
Mm-hmm.
That's like asking, I could draw comparisons, like asking, you can be fighting for any cause, and there are always going to be people like, well, what about this aspect of it and this aspect of it and this? I mean, here we are trying to dismantle a worldwide indoctrination that has probably been one of the longest forms of oppression in the history of humanity. According to World Peace Diet, I believe it was the first form of discrimination was animal farming, followed by warring tribes, because then animals became a commodity, a currency. So then they started, people started fighting with each other. And then that extended then to men and women, So I always think that by tackling the source, we can achieve all the things that we're trying to solve.
Of course.
If we can't be kind to animals, how do we expect to be kind to each other? Sorry, that was a long thing.
That's okay. Adam Farrow says Christians are allowed to eat meat. Romans 15:4. Christians are not required to eat meat.
That's the key.
So it doesn't matter if non-Christians can eat meat too, but is it right to? Is it moral? Is it ethical to do so? There's no requirement for you to eat meat in order to be Christian. It's irrelevant. Religion's irrelevant as far as it pertains to veganism. Okay.
VLAM, thank you so much for your donation. 25 Hong Kong. Do you call it Hong Kong dollars? Is that right?
Thank you, VLAM.
Thank you so much. VLAM is also a patron of ours. So we are.
I don't know that.
Yes,
IMV.
Oh, sorry. You sound. Your name is actually.
Your screen name is very similar to one of our Patreon.
It's actually I am. Wait, are you the same but with the different? Let us know.
Oh, is it VIM?
VIM, IMV.
IMV. We do have a patron named IMV. Could be the same person.
Could it be too? Please let us know.
Could it be LambV? Maybe I've been mispronouncing it this whole time. Anyway.
The world needs more of you too. Love these live streams. Help us all be better advocates for animals. Thank you so much. That means the world to us.
I might change. Let me know if this looks better.
What?
Is this on YouTube there?
Does that look better? I don't know. It's getting dark.
It's getting dark, so I'm going to try to brighten it up a
I'm very warm. I think I should not have worn this sweater in 86-degree weather.
Well, we'll see here in a second. Oh, I warmed it up a little bit.
Adam Farrow.
There's a little bit of a delay.
Adam Farrow, again, it is not a requirement for Christians to eat meat. There are Christians who choose not to eat meat because they recognize that humans were, if we're specifically talking about religious beliefs, that humans were given dominion over the animals, which dominion to us, and really there is a definition. Of dominion means stewardship, responsibility, not control.
Just like
not control, not
the ability to murder willy-nilly.
Abuse.
Yeah, like parents have dominion over their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the responsibility to care for them.
So I would say God would not like what happens in slaughterhouses. Do you think? To his, his creation, the animals that he created.
So God
He did not create animals with feelings and sentience so that they could be abused by humans. That's for sure. If you believe in a benevolent God.
Mm-hmm. Or if as a Christian you believe in Jesus Christ, so if Jesus Christ were to take a stroll through a slaughterhouse, you're correct. IMV or LambV is me on Patreon. Aha.
Thank you.
I was going to say, yes. So as a Christian, Adam, you obviously believe in Jesus Christ. You believe Jesus Christ was the Son of God. If Jesus Christ were to, stroll through a slaughterhouse where you purchase your bacon or your burgers, I don't think Jesus would approve of that.
No.
You want to move forward?
Yeah, let's move forward with the last. Is this the last slide? No, we have.
No. Oh, yeah,
sources.
It is.
Okay.
So the last slide
slide
before their sources say that advocating for a movement based on an animal rights narrative without the inclusion of human rights, which again is not veganism,
people just
is
love. Sorry.
Redefine veganism, I guess.
Yeah, people love to just insert themselves into everything. I know there's this. Sorry, finish.
Mm-hmm. Advocating for a movement based on an animal rights narrative without the inclusion of human rights is a failed attempt of virtue. There is nothing wrong with going vegan to stop supporting animal exploitation, environmental degradation, or for health reasons. Well, the only way that you can go vegan is to stop supporting animal exploitation. So you waited till the last slide, Impact, to say there's nothing wrong with going vegan to stop supporting animal exploitation.
Except for white people. White people can't go vegan because then white veganism.
So there's nothing wrong with veganism, according to Impact.
Yeah.
It's only a bummer that they put that as the last slide.
But veganism as a movement must encompass the human rights issues in the agricultural industry and include BIPOC voices, which it does. 1. 2, the agricultural industry is supported by vegans and non-vegans alike.
Yes. There's also this thing called animal agriculture, which is part of the agricultural industry, where BIPOC people are taken advantage of and abused in order to cut up baby pigs and wrap them in plastic and ship them to grocery stores.
You know why this slide is why this upsets me? The thing that upsets me the most about this particular slide is because of the continued urge that humans have to put themselves first every single time. This is what got us in the messes that we are in the first place. It's this we just must self-victimize everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. Oh, woe is us, right? When the animals, there's like billions of animals die. If people were killed at the same rate that animals are being killed every single day, we'd be out of humans in like less than a week. Mm-hmm. But,
But they're not humans.
But they're animals, so.
The last slide here, they list their sources.
Which Vice.
Alma, Atmos, Thrillist, and Vice.
The Realist?
Thrillist, Vice, Atmos, and Alma.
By the way, note the sources, the links. Hold on a second. The links. Dear vegans, stop comparing animal slaughter to the Holocaust. Next one. Veganism, history, Instagram culture. All right, that might be a little more general. Vegan race wars, white versus white veganism. Dear white vegans, stop appropriating food.
That's your source?
So they have listed their sources, but they are all biased sources to the message that they were trying to convey.
That's hilarious.
They were
your
specifically...
Alma source is an article saying, Dear vegans, stop comparing animal slaughter to the Holocaust. Doesn't sound like a source to me.
I don't know what Hey Alma is. Let me say Hey Alma.
You can bring it up here. Slide. You can bring it up here.
It is a...
Alma.
It is a...
Is there an about tab up there?
No, it seems to be some sort of...
Alma. I can bring it up here.
It says pop culture news, holidays, Israel. Okay, so it seems to be a Jewish... I'm trying to look for... Oh, here it is. About Us. About Us.
Here we go.
Alma is a feminist Jewish culture site and online community bringing you a diversity of voices.
Oh.
Okay. So these are opinion-based sources, is what it comes down to. And everyone's going to have their own opinions. That is just the way this works. There are Jewish people, you know, we've talked about this in other videos, but there are Jewish people out there, including Alex Hershaft, who is a survivor of the Holocaust, who is perfectly okay with drawing those parallels. So even Jewish people are drawing those parallels. It's not just...
It's insane to me that would be a source.
What is the last slide? I want to see the other sources real quick.
Oh, the other sources?
Mm-hmm.
Move this over here again.
This is not working right now. Woo.
The other sources would be Atmos.
No. Oh, that's the last slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it.
Thrillist and Vice. But they all appear to be opinion articles.
Yeah, they're not like...
That would be like if you were looking for evidence that the Earth was flat, and then you typed into Google, like, the Earth is flat, and then made a Google search, and then you clicked on links that were already geared towards your predetermined opinion of what the truth is.
This is like a blog for...
Thrillist?
For travel, it seems.
Travel blog?
Yeah, city guides, eating, food, drink. Mm-hmm. So, not very credible sources. You know, foodispower.org actually has data. The U.S. Census, they could have checked the U.S. Census. The U.S. Census website, and actually worked on those percentages a little bit that they gave us. Sorry, I'm going to go back here, guys. Sorry, because I know we've missed. I think
they're arguing about religion.
Oh, yeah,
chat,
okay.
Which is like,
how do you know how I eat? Adam Farrow just given. Vegans would not put down veganism by stating the thing that you stated.
What does religion have to do with veganism? I don't understand it. Yeah. Not a single religion on earth requires the eating and killing of animals. Like, not a single one. You can be any religion and be vegan.
Van of Blue Sky. It is an old book. That I grew up Catholic. I mean, I grew up Catholic. I grew up eating meat, and then I realized, you know what? That's stupid. That's stupid. What have I been doing? I love animals. I always loved animals, and I was eating cow tongue, lengua, ¿cómo se dice? Chicharrones, like, you know, everything that everyone else all over the world is used to eating, and then I changed my mind because I really...
As you do, when you
learn better.
Learn new things, you acquire new information, you realize certain activities align with your values more. Sarah Lott says, I think that's the article title, question marks. Yes.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yes, the Impact's Instagram post, their quote-unquote sources is a list of 4 articles with clearly a bias in not only in the title, but in the URL.
Chad the Vegan, didn't the Nazis refer to the Holocaust victims as animals? Yeah, and
refer to them as
Untermensch, which means parasites. I mean,
subhuman. Right?
So yeah, essentially less than human, which is atrocious, of course. Like, but see, we can. But
they did that. Why did they do that? They did that to justify treating them the way that they wanted to treat them, because it's perfectly normal and accepted to treat animals like absolute garbage. So that's usually a tactic when we're trying to get people to treat other people wrong. we have to not consider them people anymore because we've already decided as a culture, oddly, that even these other sentient animals don't even deserve that basic respect. It's so normal. It's so normal to treat animals like absolute trash that that's then used as an insult.
Scott Gerstein says, I was born and raised Jewish and I draw the parallels all the time and I will continue to do so, not apologizing for that. There you go.
Yep.
Hey. My
Girls.
kittens, peace.
I think it's
Peace be upon you.
Oh, it's almost chicken bedtime.
Yeah,
They
our
need to go.
chickens have a bedtime and it is sundown, which is now. And they are, it is time we wrap up. Let's conclude. Okay, I think we got to the end. So
Yeah, that was our. We just wanted to
Oh,
show you guys
I
this
forgot
post.
to-
Oh, we wanted to see some comments here on Instagram.
yeah, there were some really good comments. You know, I think a lot of great, a lot of vegans jumping in and leaving some nuggets of information. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of statistics, like, you know, real numbers.
Yeah, I mean, right here, as someone mentioned in chat earlier, we could easily flip this. Impact's description says, cutting out meat and animal products can be great, but if your idea of animal rights doesn't include human rights, you should rethink what you're really advocating for. Why don't we flip that and say, if your idea of human rights doesn't include animal rights, you should really rethink what you're advocating for. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
There you go. 80%. What was it? 80% of soy is grown to feed animals.
Yeah.
Mm.
This one's
Jason
funny.
Hetty.
When you have a slow content day, you don't need to make up ridiculous content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
What?
Yeah.
I'm confused why you've only ever talked about animal rights in a negative sense. Yes, we should be more inclusive, but so should every other social justice group. Well, I guess my point was like, we either need to pick one. We either need to say that all social justice things are interlocked or connected. That would be the intersectional view.
Yeah.
Which would then mean that now if you believe in human rights, women's rights, trans rights, you then must also care about animal rights and thus must also go vegan, which people don't want to hear that because people don't want to go vegan. Or we can separate them out, but then if we separate them out, you can't then claim that, oh, if you're vegan, you have to now care about human rights because we've now separated them. Because veganism is an animal rights movement. Oh, sorry. Sorry, baby me. It's a non-human animal rights movement.
Yeah. Oh, and then Paige Adam. Vegans aren't the only ones that eat fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So you know, you can go through yourselves and...
Krista says vegan food takes less land and water usage, LMAO.
Yeah.
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 There's no way a person on a plant-based diet uses the same amount of resources than a person heavily dependent on meats.
But what's sad is like there are so many, you know, I was looking through all their posts and this particular post has some of the most likes.
Over 100,000.
Over compared to their other posts, which means people are just blindly,
Well, I like that because I don't want to go vegan.
Yeah, because I don't want to inconvenience myself.
I like that.
Because I like the taste of animal flesh and I want cheese.
I like Filet-O-Fish at McDonald's, so this post is good.
Yeah, it helps me, it validates me. me.
I guess that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, people are still arguing about religion in the chat. We're not a religious channel, guys.
No.
I mean, I guess you can have that argument if you want, but...
You don't need to be religious to
Religion
be
is
vegan.
completely
You can be religious
separate.
and be vegan.
You can be vegan and not religious. You can...
That's what I said.
Yeah, oh.
Ish. In a different way. Anyways, Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for your donations.
Yes,
Those
thank you.
are, as you know, going straight to Antonio's medical. Well, why don't let's make an appearance,
get him?
brief appearance, because you
'Cause
guys
it's
have
bedtime.
helped us so much.
We're gonna go to bed soon.
Come here, my boy. Come here. And you guys haven't seen Rue in a while too, but we'll you guys have really helped us out with Rue and his medical bills.
Oh, my
So
handsome.
we are appreciative of
Hi,
that.
big handsome.
Here is my boy.
Hi, big handsome.
Look at this is. Oh, we grab Joe. He grabs his patita around my hand, and this is This is you. Look at you. Can you see yourself?
Wow.
You're so handsome, aren't you?
Very handsome.
You're so handsome.
You look good on camera.
Yeah, and this is his patita. Cancer-free patita.
Yep.
Yeah.
All makeover.
My love.
Good makeover, Bubby.
He's just amazing. He's the best. Thank you guys for helping us with him. And we shall say good night.
Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for all the donations. See you in the next one.
Bye.
Say good night, Antonio.
Adios. Beep, beep, beep.